I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special.
I say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, what else do you gotta do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion.
Hey man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you gotta really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So skillful, yes, but this and this.
Fighters fear Terence Crawford for a host of wild reasons. Roy Jones Jr. even pointed out that Canelo looked uneasy just standing across from him during their face-off. What makes Crawford terrifying isn't only his skill, it's the way he stays ice calm while reading every single move. He almost never gets touched clean and punishes mistakes with flawless timing, leaving opponents trapped in a fight that feels impossible to win.
And that stare down that we talked about, when I told you either he's not ready for this or he trying to Bud. He wasn't trying to little boy Bud. He really was afraid. Well, not afraid, but he was worried about Bud. And Bud knew that. And Bud being the older guy, Bud kind of looked him in his eye and made him turn away first. That was a victory for Bud. That was Bud's first victory. Anytime that happens, if something else don't come around or something else don't happen to undo that, you got a problem.
Paulie Malignaggi emphasized how Terence Crawford has carved out one of the most remarkable resumes in boxing. He became undisputed champion 3 separate times, an achievement almost unheard of in today's sport. And he accomplished it by taking on the biggest names, never chasing easy paths. What struck Paulie most was not only Crawford's victories, but the way he absorbed almost no punishment, rarely getting hit clean while dismantling opponents. His record tells the story: 41 wins, 31 knockouts, and 0 losses. Paulie called this run historic and noted that Crawford's recent triumph over Canelo was more than just another win. To him, it marked the beginning of a new era, much like the way Mayweather once defined his own time. In Paulie's eyes, Crawford has now cemented himself as the defining figure of this generation.
Flawless. I mean, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special. It's one of those things now, because now I've now seen back-to-back generations of Floyd Mayweather and Bud Crawford, and man, you know, it's one of those things where now I understand why the people that lived in the Ray Leonard era say, you know, oh, wish we could see Ray Leonard against Mayweather and how that would be. Because it just leaves such an empty feeling when you have such special fighters that were in different generations, and you saw both of them. You know, I saw the entirety of the Mayweather generation. I saw the entirety of the Bud Crawford generation. Just incredible. Really, really incredible. And I know Mayweather gets a lot of hate, but for me, he's a tremendous fighter. And Terence Bud Crawford is in that realm as well. And it's a fight we'll never get to see. So what are we going to do, you know? It'll be up to the fantasy fights, you know. But let's get into it, man. I want to get into the undercard as well and some of my thoughts on the Netflix show. But let's get into the main event first. Crawford really boxed very, very well, very, very intelligently. The question mark was what happens when Crawford gets hit cleanly. I'm not sure he got hit cleanly the whole fight. You know, he got hit with some partial shots. Some shots landed cleanly, but by the time Canelo started landing anything cleanly, I think he was hesitant because he was getting countered so much that he was taking some of the steam off the shots in order to hope to be more accurate. Because even late in the fight, there were a couple of shots that Canelo landed, but they barely moved.
Ryan described how extraordinary it was to witness Terence Crawford against Canelo, noting that he had rarely seen such a perfect balance of defense and offense in modern boxing. In most bouts, a fighter masters one area while leaving the other exposed. But Crawford displayed both with stunning precision. Against Canelo, he showed he could not only defuse attacks with slick movement and a tight guard, but also flip instantly into offense to punish every gap. Ryan stressed that this complete package is what separates Crawford from other champions, as he can strip away an opponent's weapons while building his own rhythm. For him, it was incredible to watch a fighter not simply avoid damage, but completely dominate an elite rival with calmness and skill.
See, I think that for me, I watch defense as much as I watch offense. So,
yeah,
like I thought, like watching Bud catch those shots off his glove.
He looked amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah,
to
he looked good.
Yeah.
He
He'd
looked
go to a
great.
body and he'd catch that and come up with an uppercut. You know, just all those things that seem.
He looked great.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody do that to ever.
No one has. Yeah, he's the best.
Canelo.
Yeah,
Ever.
he's the best.
And I think he would do that to Canelo on his best day. And Canelo said it. He goes, "I couldn't figure him out,"
No,
which is why he probably won't fight him again. In a way.
they'll fight again.
You think so?
The payday, yeah. But so you're gonna get Canelo because the money's in Canelo Crawford, the rematch. I don't want to see it, but I want Crawford to get paid, so might as well do it.
Andre Ward offered glowing praise for Crawford, calling him the most skillful fighter of his generation. Ward, himself a master technician in his prime, pointed to Crawford's mindset, saying that when Terence sets his focus on something, he will go to any length to achieve it. In Ward's eyes, the only way to stop a fighter like Crawford is to truly hurt him in the ring, because tactics alone will never be enough. Crawford's adaptability, his stance switches, and his ability to stay sharp under pressure place him in a rare class of fighters able to impose their will in any situation. Ward's perspective reinforced the belief that Crawford's greatness is no accident. It is built on determination, grit, and an unshakable commitment to conquering every challenge.
Somebody that, like, I can bet the house on is Bud.
Who's the most skilled fighter today?
Bud is definitely one of them, for sure. Me and him, we so much alike in our mentality. Like, soon as I see this dude, he come in the room or I come in the room, we start arguing about basketball, wrestling, anything, bro. Like, man, you can't, man, you looking small. What you mean I'm looking small? You looking small. Like, it's just that, like, you got to really hurt that dude to turn him away and to try to stop him from doing what he want to do. So, skillful, yes. But this and this, it's different, man.
Crawford's journey has always been deeply personal, shaped by the guiding influence of his family. He often recalls how his father predicted that he would one day become an undisputed world champion, planting belief in him from the very beginning. At the same time, his mother carried doubts, never entirely convinced he could rise to the top. But instead of breaking him, that doubt became his fuel. Every time Crawford entered the ring, he brought with him the determination to prove her wrong. With each victory and every belt, he not only fulfilled his father's vision, but also earned his mother's pride. Now, he looks back on that road with satisfaction, grateful that his success delivered both validation and respect from the people who mattered most.
My dad used to tell my mom I was going to be a world champ.
I told him we wouldn't be.
How'd that make you feel? It filled me with rage. And every time I stepped foot in the ring or anything that I ever did, I just wanted to win so bad so I can prove a point to her.
I paid the kids, I said, if y'all can whoop Bud, I give y'all $10 a piece. Couldn't whoop him.
You went out on the street.
Yeah.
What's now Bud Crawford Street.
Yeah.
And offered $10 to anyone who can kick my son's butt.
Yep.
And a lot of takers.
Yeah,
no
the kids in the neighborhood. Couldn't nobody whoop him.
What did he tell you then?
He told you, Mom, I told you I'm the best.
Looking back on his career choices, Crawford explained that he never aimed to become undisputed at 154 pounds because he didn't see enough competitive matchups in that division. For him, being undisputed is never just about stacking belts. It's about winning them against the toughest opposition possible. So instead of remaining at 154, he made the daring leap to chase opportunities at 168, where bigger challenges and stronger names could elevate his legacy even higher. Crawford's refusal to move down reflects his confidence in pushing himself at heavier weights, ensuring his career is remembered for bold risks and ambition rather than comfort or easy victories.
Has being undisputed at 154 ever crossed your mind at this point that you at in your career?
Not at all, because I'm looking at the landscape of the 154-pound division. There's a lot of great fighters, but there's not a lot of defining fights at 154. There's not a lot of legacy fights at 154. You know, when I'm looking at the landscape of 154, I beat, what's his name?
Majimov? No, 154?
No. The champion that just knocked out Tim Tszyu.
Oh, Bachram. Yeah.
Okay, so Bachram, they're going to say, who was Bachram?
Facts.
He knocked out Tim Tszyu that already had losses.
What you done with Fundora, though?
But Tim Fundora already been knocked out.
Yeah, he did.
So, along my career, I've been criticized and people have taken credit away from me just to try to diminish my accomplishments just off of pure hate.
Crawford has often taken moments to display the belts he earned, not as shallow bragging, but as a symbol of what years of sacrifice and relentless work have given him. Each belt carries more than a victory. It reflects the struggles and the hardships that came with it. For Crawford, standing with those titles is his way of reminding fans and critics alike that nothing was ever gifted. He battled through tough opponents, constant doubt, and endless obstacles to claim every piece of gold on his shoulders. His belts stand as proof of effort, discipline, and faith in his own ability, while inspiring the next generation of fighters chasing their own footsteps.
I'm just reflecting on all my accomplishments at my mama house. That's where all my belts at. You know, hard work, dedication. Things that y'all favorite fighters, some of them, ain't got. So I see why y'all mad. See why y'all mad. Ooh, look at that one right there. This where it all started at. Right here. This one. In Texas. In Texas, baby. Don't hate. Just congratulate.
Virgil Ortiz Jr., a rising star in his own right, gave Crawford immense praise for his latest fight, calling the performance absolutely beautiful. Ortiz explained that Crawford showed more than enough in that bout to prove himself fully, and that he no longer needs to chase future opponents just to validate his greatness. From Ortiz's perspective, Crawford has already secured his legacy and doesn't need new challenges to be remembered among the very best. Such admiration, coming from a young and hungry fighter, reveals how strongly Crawford's dominance has impacted the next generation, leaving them in awe of everything he has already achieved.
Perfect fight, actually. He neutralized all of Canelo's strengths. He knew that he was going to look for the right hook, because I believe that they've been looking at Crawford being hurt by that right hook before. So he neutralized it. He used his jab really well. He boxed beautifully. And, man, I mean, he did everything right. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about Crawford first, because obviously we can get to Canelo later, but in the post-fight, they asked him, a media member asked him if he'd come back down to 154 to fight Boots. Obviously, in the same token, I took it as, all right, Boots or Virgil, right? And he said he's not coming back down to 154. What are your thoughts on him not coming down, and what do you think he will more than likely do next?
I don't know what he's going to do. I did read something that said he'll go down to 160, you know? And I think that is definitely a possibility, and you know, that fight can still happen at 160. And as far as what he's gonna do now, I mean, I don't know. He kind of beat the final boss of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's kind of nothing. I don't want to say there's nothing to do, but damn, like, I mean, what else do you got to do? he's a 3-time undisputed champion. He made some good money. At this point, he's just a free player right now, I guess. He can do whatever he wants.
Crawford's influence on boxing has sparked a ripple effect, with fighters from every division eager to call his name. Sebastian Fundora, famous for his towering frame and relentless style, has already voiced his desire to meet Crawford in the ring. This is what many describe as the Crawford effect. When a fighter climbs to that level of dominance, everyone wants the chance to test themselves against him, to claim credibility. Instead of Crawford pursuing big fights, challengers are now lining up for him. It's a reversal of roles that underscores just how much power and influence he currently commands in the boxing world.
Effect is in full effect, okay? It's in full effect. Terence Crawford now is a wanted man. Prior to that, Everybody said Terence Crawford is not a draw. Terence Crawford can't sell. Terence Crawford is not a big money fight. Now, we have an interesting situation brewing. The former unified WBO, WBC, junior middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar or star boxer, the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, refused to fight Terence Bud Crawford, who is now, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt, the pound for pound king, 5-division world champion, 3-division undisputed world champion, with a record of 42 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. When Terence Crawford dominated and stopped The Truth, Errol Spence Jr., in July of 2023, Terence Crawford petitioned to move up and fight the Towering Inferno, Sebastian Fundora, okay? And Sebastian Fundora has zero interest.
O'Shaquie Foster admitted he was stunned by the way Crawford silenced so many doubts that once surrounded his career. For years, critics insisted he hadn't faced enough top-tier opponents, or that he might falter against truly elite competition. But his recent victories, especially against Canelo, proved beyond doubt that he could dominate even the most established champions. Foster acknowledged that Crawford didn't just erase the criticism. He raised the bar entirely by showing his greatness on the brightest stage. For Foster, Crawford's story is pure persistence, turning years of skepticism into lasting, undeniable respect.
I mean, shit. They definitely doubted, bro. And he told me months ago that he was gonna do that. And he went and did that. That shit, you know what I mean? And they doubted him a lot throughout his career, you know what I mean? Just a lot. And just a lot of people that I look at that's great fighters, they've been doubted. You know what I mean? Same thing with Floyd. Floyd, they had the Oscar De La Hoyas, the Shane Mosleys, the Trinidad, they all was putting them above Floyd and all this woo-de-woo. You know what I mean? So I just feel like getting doubted is a great thing. It gives me, you know what I mean, that push. So, yeah.
If you think it would look that, I ain't gonna call it easy, but I felt like people didn't think that Crawford could do it that clean. Did that surprise you?
No. It did surprise me that he stayed more disciplined. Like, I thought what was gonna happen was he was gonna do what he was doing, and then, you know, Terence got hard. He trying to bang it out, especially if he feel played enough. He feel like you feel like you doing something, he gonna come with it tough. So I thought that was gonna be a problem. Like if Canelo landed a punch, he would try to go in the trenches with Canelo. And that's what I would have been scared for him for. But, man, that boy stayed sharp all night, man. That boy looked good, man. I can't lie. He looked good. Sure. I was definitely surprised at how smooth, how easy he beat him.
Blair Cobbs and Conor Benn shared powerful reactions after Crawford's victory over Canelo. Cobbs called the win a defining moment, while Benn went even further, suggesting Crawford should consider retiring now, leaving the sport on a perfect high note. Benn's words weren't criticism, but recognition of how complete Crawford's career already feels. In his eyes, there is nothing left to prove. Crawford could walk away today and still be remembered among the greatest of all time. Their reactions capture the sense that Crawford's legacy is already written in bold, no matter what comes next.
To sail out on that beautiful sunset and retire. He's done a lot for the sport, and there's really not too much else that he can possibly do in the sport of boxing outside of make a beautiful retirement and leave a legacy of fighters that aspire to be just as great as Terence Crawford, like myself.
Has Canelo's legacy been damaged after that or not?
not really. I think that Canelo is still a terrific and a fantastic athlete that's spent a little bit too much time at the table of boxing, and right now is his time to make his exit.
Not everyone, though, buys into the idea of Crawford being untouchable. Some analysts insist that beating Canelo, as monumental as it seemed, doesn't automatically place Crawford beyond defeat. They remind us that boxing is filled with other gifted fighters who, on the right night, could outclass him. To them, Crawford win was historic, but far from absolute. The sport itself is unpredictable, where even the greatest can be tested. This view is a reminder that while Crawford has climbed to breathtaking heights, boxing never stops offering new dangers, keeping the debate over his legacy alive.
In another division, that's not the move. If he goes back down there, he's the best guy in that division. I think it's safe to say that. But I do think that a lot of those guys will be very interesting and potentially difficult style matchups for him. They'll be more difficult than a Canelo fight. And I know that sounds crazy to say, but just go and look at the fight with Madrimov if you don't believe me. Long story short, beating Canelo Alvarez doesn't mean that Crawford is unstoppable or unbeatable. Yes, he's one of the best fighters of this division, one of the best fighters ever with his achievements, but it doesn't mean he won't lose before the end if he fights the wrong guy. At the very least, it doesn't mean he won't have a harder fight than that Canelo fight. And to finish this video, do I think that he's better than Floyd Mayweather? Do I think now that he would beat Floyd Mayweather if they were to compete at 147? Well, I think Crawford at 147 is the best Terence Crawford in terms of his attributes, his style, and the strength and power he has at the weight. I think he's probably unbeatable at 147 in this era. It's because he's going up the weight style we're even having this conversation, to be honest with you. But I do think he's an all-time great. I do think he's in the conversation, which is the best you can do, because we can't definitively say who beats who in a fantasy match. That's why I really don't like them. I've been asked a few of them recently, and I just, without studying and then without actually getting the chance to see it, I just don't really like going there. But we'll do it at the end of this video anyway. It's definitely a conversation to have whether or not he's better than Floyd Mayweather, because he's done it without these rehydration clauses. He's done it. He hasn't really cherry-picked, although I would say, to be fair, to look at Crawford's record, he has fought a lot of guys where it's been the very end of their career at welter. You know, Sean Porter, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, they're all great names, but none of them were in their prime anymore. But Crawford did it so emphatically, and the way he beat Errol Spence as well. Again, he'd had his issues, but again, the way he did it so emphatically, the way he passes the eye test every single time, you have to assume that he's going to do it no matter who he's facing. I do think a fight between him and Mayweather would have been very, very difficult to call.
That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and make sure you stay tuned, because the story of boxing never sleeps. Until next time.